The basis for my shop light came from working with these tall light stands when producing videos for YouTube. What else, okay? But it is a very nice tripod stand that goes all the way to 7 feet. It is adjustable. Of course, when you get all the way out to this top length, you know, it's not like super heavy duty, but it's more than enough to handle most of the lights I'm going to show you in this video. But you can collapse it down to about this height right here. So you've got quite a bit of range there. But you know something? I started out just trying to use some light stand I bought on the internet, and I ran into some problems. First is I decided after kicking it a couple times that I needed to come up with a way to attach some caster wheels. And when I first did this, I had to buy these rather expensive tripod caster stands, you know, and they work great, but you know, most people would not be willing to spend $50 to buy this little, I guess you could call it a tripod caster cart to put the stand on. So I knew I needed to come up with a better way and a more economical way to put caster wheels on this tripod. But the real problem was on this attach point here, where they come from the factory and they're not designed for any kind of abuse. Let me show you why. This is what the tripod stand looks like when I receive it. It has this aluminum machined head on it with a little thread. And this is designed for most universal movie lights to come on here and clamp on here. This is riveted in place. Look at this. Just two little teeny rivets. So guess what happens when you try to mount a light on this and you use it for any length of time? After a while, this whole thing starts wearing out. This thing starts moving side to side, and eventually these aluminum threads strip out. So I realized the very first thing I was going to have to do was to modify this, to remove this and put something in there much stronger. And this is what I've done here. You can see I've put a long stud in here and put it way down in here so any side load on this is not going to loosen it up. And this is a heavy duty 5/16 inch diameter bolt with a very big wing nut. So once I came up with this modification, then I was able to start attaching things to this tripod stand without worrying about it loosening up and breaking off. And so I decided to begin by using aluminum angle iron like this and attaching the lights on the aluminum angle iron. So there you see you have a 14-inch piece of aluminum here that will allow you to pretty much bolt anything you want on there, including putting some Velcro to attach a lithium polymer battery like I've done on my light. And this is how I'm going to ship the light stand out to you. You'll be able to take this and modify it any way you want for any type of light. You'll be able to put switches on it. And I'm going to show you now the type of switches I use and some of the different lights I use. So these are things you can go out on the internet and buy yourself. I'll give you some links on my website under the description of this product on where you can buy some of these different lights. But let's take a look at a couple of my favorites right now. I want to begin by talking about the 12-volt cordless lights that I use and how I power them. You can see here on this particular light bar, I'm using a 5200 milliamp. This is a 11.1 or 3-cell lithium polymer battery. And this is an extremely light battery. You know, you can just unplug these. You're going to have special charging equipment. You need to be familiar with these batteries if you're going to use them. But if you don't want to use lithium polymer, you can also use these small motorcycle type batteries. Now you're not going to be able to mount it up here. You're going to have to figure out some way to mount it down low on the stand. And it's tough because these are considerably heavier than the LiPo batteries I have here. But that is another option. The other thing is you could get a cigarette lighter cord and plug it into a battery booster or even into your car. You're going to have all kinds of options on how to wire this thing. But I like these batteries, and I'll show you why. Because I can take and remove this bar and put it on the ground or put it inside the car. So the type of lights that you can use are varied, and they're all based on LED technology, You can buy brighter ones or not so bright ones, but most of these are for off-road car use. Look at that. I'm using this square LED light, and it has a bracket that you would bolt on the top of a light bar on your off-road vehicle or on the bumper. And there's other styles too. If you wanted something with a wider beam, you could use these type of lights. So the choices are endless out there as far as 12-volt powered, LED lights. Now you can, if you want more intensity, you can get a 4-cell or 14.8 volt lithium polymer battery, and that'll make these lights even brighter. So even as far as your batteries go, there are variations. You can run these lights, most of them you can run from 12 volts right on a little over 20 volts. So you got some variations in the type of batteries you can use to power these lights. I tell you, there's so many choices, and the choices keep growing every month on the internet. So now you're going to get to see why I like to be able to mount the battery on to the bar. Because let's say I'm working on a project that I'm going to have the lights on for 6 or 7 hours, and I don't want to be changing batteries. I can get a little over an hour and a half, depending upon whether I'm using 1 or 2 of these lights. But if I just take this wing nut and loosen this up, I can take this entire bar off, like this, and then I can mount my favorite 120 volt light. This is the Snap-on LED shop light. Now, if you buy this, it comes with a stand that goes on the ground. Well, whoever uses it on the ground all the time? That's why it's so nice to be able to put this up on a light bar. And very quickly, you can switch using this tripod stand from 12 volt lights to 120 volt powered LED lights like you see here. I wouldn't bother with halogens, okay? Just forget those, but stick with LED. Now I'm going to turn this on and let you see how this one lights up underneath the car. Let me turn this Snap-on light on. Okay, look at that. You have the same mobility and almost the same brightness. It's not quite as much as both of those LED lights turned on together. The only disadvantage now is you do have a cord that you may trip over, but one of the things I've learned with these Snap-on lights, you can knock them over. We've probably knocked these over a dozen or more times, and they've never broken. These have never broken. Not like the old halogen lights where you kick those over and the light bulbs burns out and the glass breaks. But these are just amazing lights. I've got a construction project I'm working on now. I took 2 of these and mounted them on the stand you can see here. Look at how much light this will produce, particularly when you're working in a dark area, doing some framing or sheeting inside a construction project where you don't have any wiring installed yet. This is a great light if you want to go with a corded light right here. So if you're interested in purchasing my modified tripod with the caster wheels, this is what it's going to include. It's going to include a piece of right angle aluminum material that is 14 inches long, and it will not have any holes in it other than the one hole for the wing nut. You'll get the modified head and the wing nut, and you'll get 3 caster wheels that you will have to mount on the legs of the tripod. Now, these caster wheels are fully adjustable. You can adjust where they sit on the leg, and you can also adjust the angle, so you may have to fiddle around with them. Remember, when you build this thing and you put the wheel on, you want the tripod out at the maximum extension like that. Then you're going to have to take and put this on the leg and make it 90 degrees, and then you're going to want to adjust the angle with this one here, so you can adjust the angle of the wheel, and you want to get that pointing straight down as it sits on the floor. If you do not do this, this won't roll smoothly. So you may have to fiddle around with adjusting these 3 caster wheels that you're going to install yourself on the end of these legs. But let me tell you, it's well worth fiddling around with those, because for the cost, this is a very complete unit ready for you to install your own lights on. Now let me explain why I use aluminum right here. I've chosen to use this heavy gauge right angle aluminum for a couple reasons. Number one, it's very easy to drill. And that will allow you, with a hand drill and the right size drill bits, to drill any number of holes. You can use these type of toggle switches that are readily available at almost any hardware store, and almost all of them are 1/2 inch diameter, so you'll need a 1/2 inch diameter bit, and you can mount the switches like you see here anywhere you want, either on the top or the back side of the bar. And as far as the lights, there are any number of different brackets. Most of them have common either 1/4 inch or 5/16 inch bolts, but you'll be able to drill them, you know, and locate your lights wherever you want. And that's why I don't send this drilled. It's very easy to drill. It also, because it's a right angle, when you take the light bar off like you see here, it will allow you to set this on the ground or even inside the car. And when you flip the switches on, let me plug it in here. And when you flip the switches on, say you can run the lights with this sitting on the ground under the car or sitting on the floor like on the carpets when you're working up under the dash. So I hope you'll get this and do your own modifications. If you come up with some really cool ideas, you know, just email me at the website, sales@mercedessource.com. Show me the pictures. I'll add them to the description to let our customers know what some of you are doing out there with this cool light stand and light bar.